My own parents tried to ruin my wedding. Now it's backfiring. Growing up, Sarah always knew she wasn't the favorite child. Her younger sister, Emily, seemed to shine in every way possible, effortlessly excelling in school, sports, and later, her career. From the moment Emily took her first steps, their parents adored her. She was the star of every school play, the top scorer in every spelling bee, and the girl who won every academic award. By high school, she was not only the valedictorian but also the prom queen, effortlessly beautiful and admired by everyone around her. Sarah, on the other hand, was different. She was intelligent, hardworking, and passionate about technology, but her achievements never seemed to matter. When she earned her degree in computer science, her parents barely acknowledged it. In the same year, Emily landed her first modeling job, and their parents threw a lavish party to celebrate. They framed Emily's first professional headshot and hung it above the fireplace in their living room, a constant reminder of who truly mattered in their eyes. The favoritism extended beyond achievements. Sarah and Emily looked nothing alike. While Emily was tall, slender, and conventionally beautiful, Sarah was shorter and had a fuller figure. Their mother never missed an opportunity to remind Sarah of this. She signed Sarah up for workout classes she never asked for and constantly put her on diets, comparing her to Emily at every chance. "Emily never struggles with her weight," their mother would say. "If you just put in a little more effort, you could look as nice as your sister." For years, Sarah tried to earn her parents' approval. She joined clubs they recommended, pursued hobbies they encouraged, and even attempted modeling for a short time, something Emily never let her forget. But no matter what she did, she always felt like the second daughter, the afterthought. By the time she reached her mid-20s, she realized that no amount of effort would ever make her enough in their eyes. So, she stopped trying. Instead of seeking their validation, she focused on her own happiness. She built a career she was proud of, surrounded herself with people who appreciated her for who she was, and slowly let go of the desperate need for their approval. It wasn't easy, but for the first time in her life, she felt free. What she didn't realize was that one day, her parents' favoritism would come back to haunt them, and it would all start with her wedding. By the time Sarah met the man who would become her husband, she had already accepted that she would never be her parents' priority. She had spent years trying to win their approval, only to realize it was a battle she would never win. But with him, things were different. He saw her for who she was, her intelligence, her humor, her kindness. Unlike her parents, he never made her feel like she needed to change. For the first time in her life, she felt truly loved, exactly as she was. After 4 years of dating, he proposed. It was simple, intimate, just the two of them at home, sharing takeout and watching their favorite show. It was perfect. When she told her parents about the engagement, she should have known what was coming. Instead of congratulations, there was only silence. Then, after a long pause, her mother asked, "Are you sure you want to rush into this? Maybe you should work on getting into better shape before the wedding." That was her first clue. At the engagement party, her parents spent most of the night hunched over her mother's phone, whispering in the corner. Her fiancé later told her that he overheard them talking to Emily, who was crying. "This wasn't the plan," her mother had said. "We never thought Sarah would get married first." It only got worse. Despite not even being engaged at the time, Emily had already curated multiple Pinterest boards for her dream wedding, and their mother had been deeply involved in the planning. But when it came to Sarah's wedding, she showed no interest. She didn't help pick out a dress, didn't offer to help with the venue, didn't even pretend to care. The one time Sarah asked for her opinion on a gown, a simple yet elegant A-line dress that made her feel beautiful, her mother barely glanced at it before saying, "Well, at least it's practical for your body type." Then, the real betrayal. Her parents never RSVP'd. At first, she thought it was an oversight. She called. She texted. She emailed. Each time, she was met with vague excuses: "We've been busy, we'll check our schedules." But she knew the truth. They weren't coming. On her wedding day, as she stood at the altar, surrounded by love, she tried to focus on the happiness of the moment. But when she looked at the front row, the empty seats where her parents should have been, she felt a pain deeper than she had ever imagined. That was the moment she knew. It was never about love, it was about appearances. And her wedding had shattered their perfect image. The wedding was beautiful. Despite her parents' absence, Sarah was surrounded by friends, family, and her new in-laws, who had embraced her as one of their own. Her mother-in-law had helped with everything: venue scouting, dress shopping, even hosting a bridal shower. It was the kind of love and support Sarah had always wished for from her own parents. But the pain still lingered. Every time she saw those empty front row seats or skipped the father-daughter dance, she was reminded of the truth: her parents had chosen their image over their daughter. After returning from her honeymoon, Sarah decided to confront them. She wasn't expecting an apology, but she needed to hear their excuse. When she finally reached them on the phone, her mother launched into a dramatic speech, accusing Sarah of excluding them. "How could you leave us out of such an important day?" she demanded. "Do you know how hurt we were, not receiving a formal invitation?" Sarah was stunned. She had personally double-checked the guest list. The electronic invites had red receipts. The physical invitations had been confirmed delivered. They were lying. For years, she had ignored their gaslighting, let them twist the narrative. But this time, she was done. Instead of arguing, she simply said, "I'm sorry you feel that way," and hung up. It didn't take long for the rest of the family to find out what had happened. Word spread quickly: Sarah's own parents had refused to attend her wedding because she got married before Emily. At first, she didn't say much when people asked. She simply told them the truth. Her parents couldn't handle the fact that she was the first to walk down the aisle. And that truth started to work against them. Suddenly, family members who had always admired Sarah's parents began to see them differently. Relatives who had stayed silent before now voiced their disapproval. Her parents had spent years maintaining their image of a perfect family, but now, cracks were forming. Then came the unexpected shift: Emily got engaged. After only a year of dating, her boyfriend proposed, and their parents reacted exactly as Sarah had expected. They threw themselves into wedding planning, securing extravagant venues, booking luxury dress fittings, boasting to anyone who would listen. But this time, people weren't impressed. The same relatives who had once showered Emily with attention were now hesitant. Some refused to attend her engagement party. Others made excuses about being busy when the wedding invitations went out. It wasn't out of loyalty to Sarah, it was because they had finally seen the truth. Sarah hadn't tried to turn the family against them. Her parents had done that all on their own. As Emily's wedding planning went into full swing, Sarah kept her distance. She had no interest in getting involved in the family drama, but her parents and sister weren't about to let things go so easily. They were furious that so many relatives were refusing to attend Emily's big day, and in their minds, it was all Sarah's fault. The accusations started slowly: passive-aggressive messages from her mother, vague comments from her father about how unfortunate it was that family loyalty didn't mean what it used to. Then, one evening, she got the call she had been expecting. Her parents didn't ask how she was doing. They didn't ask about her marriage. Instead, her mother launched straight into accusations. "You're ruining Emily's wedding," she spat. "Everyone is talking, saying terrible things about us. And it's all because of you." Sarah didn't react the way they expected. She didn't defend herself, didn't argue, didn't try to reason with them like she had in the past. Instead, she simply said, "You're right. I am jealous." For a moment, there was silence on the line. Then, her mother scoffed. "Of course you are," she said smugly. But Sarah wasn't finished. "I'm not jealous of Emily's career, her wedding, or anything she has. I'm jealous of the love and support you've given her my entire life. The love I never got. I watched you celebrate every one of her achievements, while mine barely earned a nod. I saw you cancel my graduation dinner because she had a modeling callback. I watched you pour thousands of dollars into her prom dress while I had to save up to buy my own college textbooks. And now, after everything, you're blaming me because people are finally seeing the truth about the way you treat me?" Her father cut in, his voice sharp. "If you felt this way, why didn't you ever say anything before?" Sarah let out a bitter laugh. "Because every time I tried, you told me I was imagining things. You told me I was being dramatic, jealous, insecure. No matter what I did, I was never enough for you." That was when her mother said the one thing that confirmed everything Sarah had ever suspected. "We never thought you'd go so far as to sabotage your own sister out of spite, but we always knew you resented her success." And just like that, Sarah saw the truth. They didn't care about how she felt. They never had. For the first time in her life, she didn't argue. She didn't try to change their minds. She simply said, "Goodbye," and hung up the phone. And for the first time in her life, she felt free. After Sarah hung up, she expected to feel devastated. Instead, she felt lighter, like a weight she had carried her entire life had finally been lifted. For years, she had bent over backward trying to earn her parents' love, but in that moment, she realized the truth. She had been chasing something that was never hers to begin with. But her parents weren't done. Over the next few weeks, they went on a desperate mission to save face. They called relatives one by one, spinning a new story, claiming Sarah had intentionally left them out of her wedding, that she was bitter, jealous, and trying to turn the family against them. They painted her as the villain, insisting that Emily's wedding was suffering because of Sarah's selfishness. But this time, no one was buying it. The same relatives who had once been blind to their favoritism had finally seen it for what it was. They remembered the years of little slights, the blatant preference for Emily, the way Sarah had always been treated as an afterthought. They remembered how her parents had ignored her wedding but were now sparing no expense for Emily's. One by one, people started pulling away. Family members who had been excited about Emily's wedding suddenly had other plans. The high-end venue they had secured through family connections? Cancelled. The luxury dress fittings? Mysteriously rescheduled. Even the family friend who was supposed to officiate the ceremony backed out. And then came the final blow. At a family gathering, someone casually brought up Sarah's wedding photos. Her mother, unable to contain her frustration, snapped, ranting about how Sarah had changed after getting married and was trying to destroy the family. Instead of sympathy, she was met with stunned silence. The perfect, polished image she had spent decades maintaining was cracking in real time. For the first time, people weren't just seeing Sarah's pain, they were holding her parents accountable for it. And Sarah? She didn't have to do a thing. She didn't argue. She didn't plead her case, she let the truth speak for itself. For the first time in her life, she realized she didn't need her parents' approval to be happy. She had built a life filled with love, real love, not the conditional kind her parents had dangled over her head. She had finally won. Not by proving herself to them, but by realizing she never needed to. Wow, what a roller coaster of family drama. Can you imagine being in Sarah's shoes? Do you think she made the right decision by cutting ties? Or should she have handled things differently? Let us know in the comments below, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you've ever experienced family favoritism, share your story. Let's get the conversation going. Would you like a variation with a different tone, more dramatic, humorous, or emotional?